What's up folks, Bobby here from FIBA Motorsport. This is a video for the Cadillac CTSV big brake kit that people do on the DSMs using the standard GM or aftermarket calipers instead of the EVO Brembos. Now we know the current issue is you either have to have things machined on the calipers and then you have to run spacers, and then also the lug nut holes are very overlarged, so the rotor can slip on the actual hub itself. Our design and plan is pretty simple. First one is to fix the hub, so there's no need for a spacer anymore. It will centralize as a standard hub wheel. On that note, the early wheel bearings used to have a slightly different lip size. So early on, when the EVO Brembos were a really big upgrade, the problem that people were finding when they were using the EVO rotors is the hub itself was slightly oversized, so that meant the early wheel bearings wouldn't fit, so you would need to swap to what they'd called the 99 or the 3G front hubs, because they changed the design. Now almost all of the and that's just a revision, and almost all of the modern wheel bearings now come with that upgraded design. So if you still have an old wheel bearing, one, good on you, because if your wheel bearing hasn't shot and lasted this long, that's amazing. But two, you will run into issues of that, so there's no way around it. Eventually later on, if your wheel bearing does go, the hub will go to the new specs. It's the same with brake rotors. None of the brake rotors now use the old bore size. The bore size now is, I think it's 64 point. No, I'm making this up. It's something different. I've got a actually, I'll show you right now. Let me go and check this out, because I've got one right here. This way I can give you an accurate rather than just guessing, because there's so many things I measure. It's like 67.1, I think. 69. Well, that says 69 maybe. Says about 69, so it could be 69.1 that they try and work with. I know there is a 0.1 somewhere. So most of the wheel hubs will now come like that, so they're a slip fit for the lasers. The other thing we have is the stud location is now not as big as, I think the CTSVs are crazy big, 14.5 mil studs size. For a 12 mil bolt, it's oversized by a lot, so we obviously brought that down. The two versions that will be offered is this clear version. No, I'm joking. This is just development use. So the two versions will be the main bell, which will be a standard offset. This will utilize a non-machined caliper, so you don't have to have the backing machined off 5 mil, which means that everything then becomes a 100% bolt-on application. I have been asked though if people want more clearance for spokes, because obviously different wheel manufacturers have slightly tighter spokes and they don't want much of a concaved effect. Can I work with machined calipers still? And the answer is yes, I can do that. All that will happen is you'll still have 5 mil machined off the caliper, which sinks the caliper down, and then what will happen is this bell will just be 5 mil longer. So there will be two separate bells, because you can't add any spacers in between here really, not for structural strength. So it does mean that two bells have to be made, but that is an option. These are going to be a part of a small group by they are two-piece, so you're going to have a nice vane system, so directional vanes, high vane count. Most of them are always going to be 48 vane count, so great heat extraction. Then you've got some weight loss in the bell and the rotor, but also the cooling effect as well, which will be here. The other thing I will be looking at is on the original DSM OEM knuckle is cooling ducts which mount to the standardized spacing. Because at the moment I do the EVO versions, which are a lot longer for the EVO Brembos, but I don't have anything for the CTSV type calipers or the OEM knuckle spacing. So I'll be looking into those as well, because I know some people want extra cooling for their caliper kits. So that's just a brief update on that. It will hopefully be coming in the next couple of weeks, and it just means that everything will be fully bolt on, a much easier application. Yes, the price of the two-piece rotors are going to outweigh a standard stock type one-piece rotor, especially considering all the extra bits you need to do anyway. But you're also going to get extra weight savings. So the alley bell will be lightweight, and then you've got the steel outer rotor ring. Then you've also got the fact that all of this heat will dissipate better going through an alley bell, so your wheel bearings will generally last a lot longer, because on a one piece all of the heat will get soaked in to the bearing, whereas here with the cooling effect and this being alley, you're going to dissipate heat a lot better, and your wheel bearings will not contain as much heat. Obviously if you're doing high forces on racing, you're still going to have loading going through the bearing, and that's where you want to really clean the bearing grease and then add a slightly stronger high loading bearing grease internally to that. So that's the development phase and stage of this CTSV 330mm rotor, but hopefully it's liked and people see the benefit of doing this, and yeah, always a development part coming in, just to make things a lot easier and a lot nicer for people, and trying to make things as much bolt-on as possible. So thank you very much for watching, and take care. Bye bye.